Take a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.
They say that all things must come to an end.
Time is linear.
Time is linear, time is construct and all that. And it is the end for 2020, but also the beginning of a new decade. We're going into the new decade in a sense.
We've already went into a new
2020
decade.
doesn't count. We don't know, like, like when we reach next week and 2020 calls up, we're like, new number, who this? That's what's going to happen.
I felt that throughout the entirety of the week. I was saying that I'm not even joking. For some reason, my mind resetted. And in my mind, it's 2019 right now. And tomorrow's 2020.
Mental repression, complete.
It's like, this year did not happen. You're nothing. Blackout completely. That's how bad it is. But you know what?
It feels weird. Like, I feel like we're like in a class graduation. You know, we're wrapping things up and, we're looking good on camera right now.
Of course, as usual. As usual, if you guys are, tuning in right now from YouTube, you get to see us looking, our best. I actually did put some red in my eyes. I don't know if the cameras can look at me. Cameras, they don't want to look at me.
It's okay. It will.
It will eventually, but when it does, when I say that I put some red under my eyes, because I'm trying to be festive today, like, look on me, some red.
Lovely.
Thank you. I'm just trying to, keep the positivity going, the energy going, because despite what happened in 2020, I'm very positive about 2021. I know a lot of people are terrified of saying 2021 is going to be my year, but you know what? Let's try again. Let's say one more time, 2021 is going to be our year.
And we are going to always be here with you guys, even after today.
Inshallah.
A new year, inshallah.
Inshallah. Please say inshallah.
Inshallah, as always. New laughs and shenanigans and funny moments here always on the Afternoon Karak. And we want to ease you guys into this last day of 2020 by sharing our most personal favorite movie, shows, and songs and video games. And you can join the conversation. Text us 4215 Itslot or do, and just kind of like, talk also about our new year resolution or our old year resolutions.
I have been kind of giving slow updates throughout the week, and I think I have finalized my New Year's resolutions, and hopefully you did as well.
I have a few things I'd like to really just sort of look forward for.
All right. So then besides talking about, our favorite movies, TV shows, video games of the year 2020, which we'd love to hear from you guys, text us 4215 Itisalat, or do tell us your best movies and TV shows of 2020, your personal best song of the year 2020, and your favorite game of the year 2020. We're trying to reminisce and see what has been the best of 2020. We're also going to be talking about a Robert Pattinson rumor. It's not a good one. It's about Batman, and apparently he might be struggling throughout it. We're also going to be talking about some UFO countdown all the way in the States. Creepy. We need to end the year with conspiracy theories, because what is the Afternoon Karak if not some conspiracy theories and Marvel stories, just sprinkled in.
A little bit of everything.
A bit of everything. And we do have a TIL that I felt was kind of inspiring, sort of a kickoff into 2021. So many things to talk about in this hour from 4 p.m. all the way till 5 p.m. with myself, Aisha Al-Mazmi, and Mikhail Atiyah.
Pulse 95.
Over the past week, we have been reminiscing about various memories throughout 2020. And now we're going to be talking more about our personal favorite stuff from pop culture, from best movies, TV shows, video games, and songs. And let's kick it off with TV shows and movies. Yes, it was sort of a bad year for movies and movies mostly, not TV shows.
Yeah.
Because the TV shows were being pumped one after the other, and it's been a constant, and they've been keeping us company throughout the pandemic.
Especially with streaming, and I think Netflix is probably the king when it comes to really great content on their platform.
Absolutely.
But in terms of what is my favorite film for this year, it's got to go to The Gentleman. It literally came out day one.
Does it count as 2019 or 2020? That's my question.
It initially released at the 1st of January in 2020, and we watched it later in that month.
Yes.
So I kind of consider it as a 2020 film.
I agree with you. It is
fantastic.
It was up there as one of my favorite movies.
It's like a modern Godfather,
at
a global scale. It just
Absolutely.
types of all sorts of gangsters from different, like from America, from Europe, from Asia, and just the constant power struggle between them,
and the
phenomenal
subtle comedy,
actors.
the subtle comedy throughout it all.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just perfect, and I agree with you. It is incredibly underrated. I feel like not enough people went to watch it.
Oh,
and
yeah. But there will be a show very soon, which is what's so exciting.
Excited for that. Like, fingers crossed it's gonna be as good as the movie. I feel like it warrants a rewatch because I miss it. And I was actually thinking about it earlier this week. I'm like, I missed that movie. It made me so excited. And I love the fact that I watched it when the cinema was completely empty and I was just chilling, and it was incredibly fun. The entirety of the cast was also fantastic, so it definitely warrants a rewatch. If we're going back all the way to the beginning of the year, you know my answer. It is Emma. Emma is one of my favorite movies of 2020. Also, I believe it's incredibly underrated. It was a beautiful iteration of the Jane Austen novel, and we all know that Jane Austen novels have been remade so many times, and you get tired and very bored of them at some point.
Yeah.
But this version was just absolutely magnificent. I loved it. The colors, the comedy that jumped through the entirety of the story. And I always tell people, go and watch Emma. Go and watch Emma. And I know that all my friends are also with me on this bandwagon, that they also believe this is one of the best movies of 2020. As for the best TV show of 2020, in my opinion, again, Anya Taylor-Joy in Emma, Anya Taylor-Joy in Queen's Gambit. If I'm going to talk about a TV show that just went full circle and was just beautiful from the beginning till the end, definitely Queen's Gambit in 2020.
And the story behind that series is that series has been trying to be filmed, like trying to get produced for 30 years.
Wow.
So imagine, like, this is a story that was trying to be told for a long time, and Netflix, picked it up, and I know it's like, I need to watch it myself.
You haven't?
I haven't watched it, unfortunately.
How could you, Mikhail?
I know, it's always in my top recommendation, but because you've recommended it as the best show for 2020.
I'm not even kidding, because I feel like everybody who watched it can agree with me. It just had a very beautiful way of wrapping the entirety of the story. You think the story will go in a certain direction, but the last episode, it was just so beautiful. It has a special place in my heart. It's like right up there with one of my favorite TV shows ever. And I believe that it's very rare that we see any sort of TV show or anime. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it's very hard to find a TV show or anime or anything of that sort that wraps up very nicely. I mean, you and I always argue about The Office versus Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And even though I love Parks and Recreation and I love the way it ended, Queen's Gambit is up there in the way it just tells the story very beautifully.
From start
the
to finish.
relationships were very, very beautiful. The way they progressed from the beginning all the way till the end. So Queen's Gambit, definitely best TV show in my opinion in 2020.
My best TV show is actually thanks to you, because I got my hands on your Amazon Prime, so I got to watch some of their exclusive shows, and their best one is The Boys.
Even though it premiered in
The second season premiered in 2020, and I absolutely love this deconstruct of superheroes. There's something about like that whole idea of if we actually had superheroes in real life, they would actually be like capitalized. There would be corporations and PR agencies. They would have movies based on them. They would be like having their own little reality show.
Yes.
And there's so much like intrigue behind it, and it's just with the second season it gets even more intense. And I recommend this is one of the best sort of satirical shows that pokes fun on one of the most mainstream culture out there right now, which is the whole superhero fiasco.
And it's quite dark as well. It's incredibly dark. Literally from the first 10 minutes.
Not for the faint-hearted, I'll say that.
Absolutely not. And we also have this question up on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio, so check it out if you want to answer, or text us 4215. It's Salat or Do. We do have an answer that says Tenet is actually one of their favorite movie, and I did not watch it. I've been saying I'm going to watch it because the Blu-ray
release is out. So
exactly, it's been out for a couple of weeks now, so I'm going to stay on the fence about it.
I can somewhat agree to them. Tenet is certainly a very unique film. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
But I also have a little bit of an issue with the film feels like homework. And because of that, it doesn't have a really broad appeal. So, I mean, I would love to recommend it to every person, every friend of mine. But Saraha, they're going to come back to me like, I don't know what I watched. It was cool, but I didn't get it.
I get it.
So because of that, it's not really my favorite film. It's something that I personally like, but I cannot go ahead and say, go and watch it. Because Saraha, it's homework.
Well, you did review it a couple of weeks ago. And if you want to listen to Mikhail's review of Tenet, even though you probably watched or maybe you didn't, you want to know, check out our podcast at Afternoon Karak on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on SoundCloud, on Rami, wherever you listen to podcasts, and check it out. We're going to continue our conversation because coming up next, we're going to be talking about the best songs of 2020, perhaps even the best albums of 2020. So stay tuned for that.
Pulse 95.
We might be making some enemies after this segment, but we want you guys to join the conversation. Text us 4215. It's something to do. Share your taste of music that you've sort of built up in the year 2020. There's been some great music here and there, and we're going to be sharing our personal favorite songs, favorite albums of the year. Aisha, go right ahead.
Oh, this one is easy. Future Nostalgia, Dua Lipa.
Ooh. I've grown to like her because you keep playing her on our show between breaks. But am I wrong? No, you're not. I've grown to really like her style of music. Her vocals, her music videos. There's something about this type of music where it's a mix of everything,
This latest album obviously is called Future Nostalgia because she's trying to bring the whole nostalgia of the 80s. That's why it's very disco pop kind of music.
Which is why one of my favorite songs of the year is The Weeknd, In Your Eyes. And it has the like you said, like that retro kind of music to it with the jazz, and I just love it. And there's this part where he's like, "In your eyes," and I'm like, "Oof!"
Amazing,
I just keep singing to that part.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for that moment.
Just the music does something to you, and this is why we all have our own little personal playlists. Which is why we want you guys to share it here on the Afternoon Cut Up 4215 and Salater Do. Any more, Aisha?
Another one is Kali Uchis. I've grown to love her. She became up there with Dua Lipa as one of the artists that I never miss out. And she just released her album. Now, I'm really sorry. I don't speak proper Spanish, so I'm going to try my best. Sin miedo del amor y otros demonios. I'm sorry. Again, I'm really sorry. I cannot speak Spanish.
I'm just as bad. At least you put some effort into that.
I'll just say Sin miedo. How about that? Because it's a very long album name. And it's just that whole, I can't know how to explain, but it's just cool kind of music, that Kali Uchis kind of pop Latin music that's very calm and cool and collected, and she just gives those vibes like when you're cruising at night and you're just chilling. I love that very, very much. One of my favorite tracks as well is surprisingly from Miley Cyrus, because she finally realized that her voice was created for rock, or at least pop rock. So her entirety of the album has been quite interesting. But obviously one of my favorite songs is Prisoner featuring Dua Lipa.
Oh yeah.
And also Plastic Heart, as we also play often on our show.
Not only you, my sister, every time we get in the car,
It's a lot of fun.
Miley Cyrus has went into some very interesting creative path, and now, I like her more than ever, to be honest.
Again, it's like knowing exactly what is your, I would say, where you're good at and just sticking to it. And you excel at it. And her voice, like I said, I've always been created for rock, and it was just perfect.
Beautiful.
And another song that I really enjoyed was Lucid by Rina Sawayama. I keep talking about her every once in a while. She's one of those very underrated upcoming artists who has a lot of following as well. So guys, check out all of our recommendations, and if you've got more recommendations, share them with them. 4215 Talat or Do. We just told you our favorite movies, TV shows, songs, and albums from 2020, and we move on to the controversial one that is the best video game of 2020. Get ready for this one.
Some bold statements are coming.
Oh, very bold ones. You know what I'm going to say. Coming up next, we've got Kali Uchis, because we're celebrating Kali Uchis' latest album and the fact that she has released one of my favorite albums of 2020. So stay tuned for that.
This is Pulse 95.
Before we move on to favorite video games, I forgot to add that one of my favorite albums of the year 2020 was Chloe and Haley's Ungodly Hour.
Got to give her a shout out.
Give them.
Give them, okay.
Chloe and Haley.
Sorry, my bad.
Chloe and Haley. How can you forget? Chloe and Haley.
I'll give a shout out to Billie Eilish.
Oh, yeah.
For her song No Time to Die.
Which I thought for some reason came out in 2019, and that just tells you
mental repression.
That I'm not in 2020. Now we go to video games. Are you ready for this one? Because there's going to be some arguments here. Perhaps should probably just dedicate the entirety of the hour to this argument. I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Because I've got several before we start fighting.
Mm-hmm. We don't, like, Game Awards not even included in this.
But I am going to make a statement. You know the statement I'm going to make later on. So first of all, obviously, Ruin Factory 4 Special has, just like the name says, has a special place in my heart for it.
Long time waiting.
Long time waited game, and it has been my game of the year for 2020. I had a lot of fun playing it. I spent a lot of time, a lot of hours dedicated to this game. It was actually one of my most played games according to Nintendo's general overview of my playing habits on my Switch. And also, now it's time for the, Game of the Year. What should have won Game of the Year in the Game Awards? And I will fight everybody for it. Are you ready for this?
I've been ready. I knew this the second you brought it up.
Hades Game of the Year, guys. Hades Game of the Year. It's a Game of the Year for IGN. It was a Game of the Year for many other outlets.
You're right.
It just tells you that this game was fantastic. Which makes sense that this is one of my favorite games that I played this year.
It brings a new experience, a new scale of difficulty.
Absolutely.
And it's something that even I know when I get the Nintendo Switch, I cannot wait to get my hands on this.
It is fantastic. And also the honorary mention to Crash Bandicoot 4 because it was a beautiful sequel.
A beautiful spiritual successor.
Exactly. It's completely underrated. I don't know why it's under the radar. It deserves to be up there with all the big games like Ghost of Tsushima. Deserves to be there with The Last of Us 2 because it was such a beautiful successor, just like you said. I would not expect that out of a game that was supposedly long overdue. You'd think that they're going to have any misses, but it was an easy 9 out of 10 for both of us when we were doing the review.
You can tell the developers really wanted to give it a promising sequel. It's just like the old game, but with all the things that you never thought the game would have had. Like, it's a natural additions that really just enriched the experience and brought Crash Bandicoot back into the map. Honestly, I cannot wait for future sequels, inshallah. For me, my unexpected surprise is Sucker Punch Productions' Ghost of Tsushima.
Why are you surprised? We know that.
It's just, there's something about this game that I've, this developer for almost 7 years, quiet, never heard about them. Then it comes out. And I'm already getting hyped up, but the day I played it, something about that game and just the way, just the story, the gameplay, it brought something so refreshing and something I've never gotten a chance to play myself, and it's why it's one of my personal favorite games for the year. And the fact that they even later on put a multiplayer mode with their Ghost of Tsushima Legends, just the developers, I love that team and the dedication and their passion for creating something that is honestly very difficult because these are Western developers who are focusing on a Japanese setting, and even the Japanese critiques and developers themselves gave praise to them. It's like, wow, the amount of research and time and accuracy and historical and just everything about that game. Even Japanese people were like impressed, like, wow, what a great job they've done with this game, and it's why it's my personal favorite.
I understand, honestly, even though I had my gripes here and there about it, I did not doubt that it was a beautifully made game, that they put in blood, sweat, and tears into creating it. And I forgot to mention one last game.
Go right
Final
ahead.
Fantasy VII Remake. Although I did not finish it, so I have like 3 chapters left. But my point is, it was very beautiful. It was, I'd say, it's not...
It's the perfect reboot.
It was a perfect reboot, and I believe a lot of people who played the old game also believe that. And it showed because they went ahead and played the old version, and they started playing all the other versions of Final Fantasy.
Huge difference.
Huge difference, and it's like you said, this year was a year of, I'd say, successful reboots, successful remakes, successful sequels, unlike some other games that will not be mentioned today. But anyway, it was not a bad year for video games. There have been some really highs Netflix, Unsuspected Highs. You see all these new indie creators just coming out of nowhere and just giving us one amazing video game after the other.
And then Crunchy Lows.
And then the crunchy lows, the ones that you would expect would have hit the highs, were actually part of the lows of the video game industry this year. And we saw all these indie creators just hit, one spot after the other, just doing fantastic work. So this year, I'd say 2020 has been the year of indie creators in the video game industry. We're going to be taking a short break. We have these sports headlines, so we need to stop talking. We've got more to discuss later on in this hour. We're not done here to, say farewell to the year 2020. Stay tuned for that and much more right here on the Afternoon Karak.
This is
TIL.
Today I learned.
I came across this TIL on Reddit, so I need to tell you this beautiful story that is quite interesting. It's about an Ethiopian woman. Her name is Mamitu Gashe. Again, I'm really sorry if I'm butchering the name. I'm trying my best over here. And when she was around 16, she was pregnant and she had a stillborn baby. So what happened is that she had something called an obstetric fistula. Again, medical students and doctors, again, I'm really sorry about the pronunciation. So what happened is that she had it, and usually what happens is that she would be kind of ostracized because some of the complications of this condition is that you kind of smell really bad and some things kind of go out of hand basically within your bodily functions. But luckily she was transported to a hospital and she got treated for it, and she had a specialist that was repaired her obstetric fistula. And then eventually she started working there, fixing beds as the help around the hospital. And one day during the surgeries, she was just watching bit by bit. She started watching more and more until one day she was actually asked to help in the same procedure that saved her life.
Wow.
Eventually, she became a surgeon who is specialized in this specific thing, in this specific condition called obstetric fistula. And this makes her the only surgeon, I believe the only surgeon with no official medical training. It's all hands-on that she became. She became actually one of the best specialists in the region, to the extent that people who actually studied medicine from across the entirety of the region would come to learn from her on how to do this specific procedure.
Mashallah, wow. That is such a powerful story. And one thing that reminds me of a conversation we had a long time ago, it's how reality shapes you and how your environment is what environment you're in helps you, sort of prosper in life.
Yes.
I feel I personally resonate with this because, I didn't become a radio presenter like yesterday. It was there was a time when I was working here at Pulse and I was just sort of like a social media executive. I was just doing research here and there. I was doing some camera work, some editing. But then, thanks to all the people here at Pulse 95, they gave me a chance. They said, let's hear your voice on a mic. And ever since then, things have led up to this moment here.
Exactly.
Co-hosting with you. And it's because I put myself in that environment.
And also the fact that you're in this environment might be a coincidence, but at the same time, other people trust in you and believing in you that would push you towards this. It's somebody seeing something in you, just like how they saw something in Mami Togashi and they're like, there's something in her that she's very good at this. Perhaps let's give her, a push towards it. Especially since medicine isn't the kind of thing where you put
super demanding, yeah.
It's super demanding.
People spend years just in pre-med.
7 years in medical school and then another 10 years, residency and working in the hospital. But this lady, obviously, we're not, undermining anything she has done, all the efforts, but it just shows you that there are exceptions to many rules, and sometimes there are exceptional people as well, and perhaps you might be this exceptional person. So do not stop believing in yourself and throw yourself into those situations where you feel that you might not
Take
succeed.
advantage.
Take advantage, because one day you might just succeed. Coming up next, we're not going to do one last, Aisha and Mikhail suggest. We're going to wrap it up very nicely. We're going to talk about our New Year's resolution and say goodbye to you for one last time in 2020. Stay tuned for that right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Pulse 95.
There's a reason why I played that song from earlier, not only because obviously it's one of the most notable singles of 2020, which is what we were talking about earlier in the hour, but also the term "rain on me," which is like, I hear the thunder, let it rain on me.
Yeah,
It's just like, let it happen. Whatever happens, let it happen. And this is how I feel what we should carry on towards 2021, because I believe we had a lot of hopes and dreams all attached to 2020, and then things went wrong in many ways. We are still trying to recover. Unprecedented, exactly. But I feel like what we should learn from 2020 is that we should expect the unexpected. And when the unexpected, both positive and negative, happens, we should just let it roll over, let it rain on you, just let it go.
Exactly. I won't sugarcoat it. 2020 has been a struggle for a lot of us. It's been an uphill struggle, hardships, tribulations, and some bad times. But that doesn't mean it's over. This is only the beginning. And I know I might get a little geeky, but from a scene from Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, there's a scene where Frodo is upset that that the ring is bringing him so much devastation, and he says, he tells to Gandalf, the wizard, he tells him, I wish this has never happened to me. And Gandalf says, so do all who have lived through this, and all we can do now is decide what we're gonna do with the time given, and I think that's something I'm gonna take through 2021. I wouldn't say that all of my hopes and dreams and of this year has been sort of tarnished, or for me, a lot of it was just trying to manage through month in, month out.
Yeah.
I've become a legal guardian to my sisters, a caretaker. So for me, my biggest focus was stabilizing my family's situation. And alhamdulillah, things has slowly eased through that. And now 2021, I want to focus on myself. That's sort of my New Year resolution. What about you, Aisha?
I love that. I said yesterday that I want to continue or maintain going to the gym. So I said minimum 4 times a week. Obviously, the best would be 6 times, 4 times a minimum. Fix my small steps. Fix my sleeping schedule. Obviously, try to hit a minimum of 7 hours per day, maximum 9 hours. That would be fantastic. And again, just like you said, focus on myself. That was the theme of 2020. I'm gonna take that with me and bring it with me to 2020. I'm gonna focus on myself better. I'm gonna try eating better. I'm gonna try putting myself first again, maintaining that, because I've been doing that for the past couple of year or two, where I'm trying to put my well-being at the forefront. I've done a lot of things throughout this year that were like, Aisha, get up and just do it. Just get up and do it. Whether it's doctor's visit, again, going to the gym.
And just telling yourself that is probably the most important first step in anything.
Absolutely. And my relationships this year have been just beautiful and flowering and blossoming, and that just makes me the happiest person alive right now. And I just want to keep that going, want to maintain that, because despite the setbacks that happened in 2020, I'm a true believer of I am, or you are, just whatever happened to you, whatever the good, the bad, that they make you. You take it with you, and you just continue on with whatever you have.
Don't let 2020 define you.
No, don't let that define you. Actually, no, let it define you. The opposite. Let it define you. Take it with you, and just keep on evolving yourself, becoming a better version of yourself. It feels very, preachy, but this is just the truth. Just take yourself and see what happens with yourself. And with that, we end our hour right here on the Afternoon Karak for the last time in 2020.
It's been a crazy year.
Crazy year. Cannot wait to speak to all of you guys and also see you right here streaming on YouTube in 2021. We leave you with our last show on Pulse 95 on 2020, and that is Yalla Home, Big House. We can see him. He's ready to take over very soon with Anna Schofield. Happy New Year. Take care from your loving family right here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.